Imagine you're a tightrope walker, hundreds of feet up in the air with no safety net. One misstep, and that's it. Or imagine you're a surgeon, your hands steady over a patient's heart. One slip, and the consequences are irreversible. Now, imagine you're getting ready to walk onto a stage for your latest great performance. It can sometimes feel like the stakes are just as high, doesn't it? But here's the truth, they're not. And believing that they are is what's robbing us of joy and keeping us trapped in a perfectionism model that can only have dirty, rotten, no good, bad outcomes for everyone involved. Hi, I'm Jeff Price, and I'd like to welcome you to Intentional Musicianship, where we talk about performance practice, storytelling, showmanship, and audience engagement. On today's episode, I want to challenge a mindset that holds so many musicians back. The false equivalency between what we do as musicians at center stage and those life or death professions. You know, having a flawless performance is desired in our field in music. That's what we're taught, right? But if we're not careful, it turns into a prison instead of a tool for growth. You know, I see memes all the time on the internet, so they got to be true, right? But these memes compare musicians to surgeons, pilots, and even soldiers in the middle of a battlefield. Now, these might be meant to inspire us or to give us value, but you know, they can create a damaging mindset. A wrong note is not the same as a botched surgery. Missing an entrance is not crashing a plane. But when we absorb these comparisons, we start treating every performance like a life or death event. Now, the problem with the surgeon tightrope walker comparison is that it makes us believe every mistake is a catastrophe. It just starts robbing joy. And what happens? We start to freeze. We overthink. We become afraid to take musical risks. Now, think about the last concert you saw and attended. I want to ask you, did you obsess over every detail, or did you remember how the music made you feel? I'm asking that because audiences are far more forgiving than we are to ourselves. They're not waiting for us to fail. They just want to be moved by the music, moments, and memories. What's more useful than perfectionism? Instead of thinking, I must be flawless like a surgeon, try, I will strive for excellence while embracing the humanity of live performance. And instead of a mistake ruins everything, think how I recover from a mistake is what makes me a professional. Instead of every note must be perfect, try music is a conversation, not a test. If I miss a word, or music in this case, the conversation continues. Now, I have many recordings meticulously produced in the studio that I will listen to on occasion. You know, one of my favorites was one for Burger King, and if you bought 2 Whopper meals, you'd get a CD of my group in the United States Army, the Army Field Band. But those recordings I cherish are those live event recordings because they bring me back to the moment on stage in that city for that crowd. And many years ago, I was performing for a packed gymnasium in Florida. The kind of performance where I'd spent hours memorizing my piece, making sure every phrase was locked in. You know, you had 40 plus days on the road and you're soloing at different times, at different venues, different hotels, and you had to keep in the game. It was a virtuosic piece, and I remember right in the middle of one of the transitions to another section, you know, the last note, I had to jump to the extreme register of my instrument, and just for that split second, I split the altissimo note, and just in that tiny moment, barely noticeable, there it was, cracked. You know, that performance is one of my favorite live recordings because when I listen back, I remember what happened after that mistake. Did the audience react? Did anyone comment? Nope. Instead, got a standing ovation. The band was pumped. The energy in the room was high. And yet, for a second, I could have convinced myself that one note, one microscopic imperfection, somehow threatened the entire performance. But in reality, it didn't matter at all. I sometimes wonder how this got in our heads, and I'm pretty sure it comes down to how we're trained. Our amazing instructors and teachers were helping to motivate us and inspire us. They might have told us that the requirement to earn a position or a job, win a competition to get a scholarship, was to play perfectly. Now, I understand some of their sentiments as they only had our best interests at heart for us. They tried to put us in the best position to set ourselves apart. But, that's why I'm a big advocate to sit back, evaluate, and see if we've communicated well with our instrument. That's much more important. We want to make sure that what we say makes it to our intended audience. In the end, there may always be a better musician on any given day, but only you with your unique, amazing traits and your preparation for this event are the one who can best communicate to that intended person at that event, on that given time, in that venue for that special time. I'd like to encourage you to own the moment and realize you're special. You're sharing and giving in a manner that makes a difference. Now remember, perfection isn't the goal. Communication is the goal. Give yourself some grace, keep growing, and keep performing. Thanks for listening to us today on this episode of Intentional Musicianship. I'm curious what your thoughts are about this episode, and I'd love to hear from you about what false expectations you have placed on yourself that have held you back from your best performances. You can always visit us at intentionalmusicianship.com and share what you're thinking. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Again, thanks for joining us, and I hope you join us for the next episode of Intentional Musicianship.